This video will focus on the data that's in our invoices, because in our industry, billing is complicated. Once a month, TRAC sends invoices to motor carriers, steamship lines, and other customers. Because our customers are in different segments of the shipping and logistics industries, our invoices contain all sorts of information. But there's one thing that we want you to take from today's video is the fact that we believe you'll never have to use every column. The important thing to know is which columns are most important for you. And the best way to do that is for TRAC to provide you with a CliffsNotes version of the most utilized data columns. Now let's hear from Tom Kulesa, Billing Director, who will walk you through the data elements in a TRAC invoice and share some tips on how to read and interpret the data.
Hi, I'm Tom Kulesa, Billing Director at TRAC Intermodal. Today we're going to open a TRAC invoice, and I will show you how to read and interpret the most important data. Most customers receive notice of their invoices by email, so we'll start by looking at an example of the email you will receive once the monthly invoicing has been completed. To better understand the billing elements on your invoice, we will then take an in-depth look at the CSV file that your company receives. This should give you an understanding of the basic elements on your TRAC invoice and help you understand the charges associated with each move. As a result, you will be able to open your invoice and determine what data is most important to your business. This should save you time and hopefully make the entire invoice reconciliation process a little easier for you. Let's get started. Here is an example of a typical email that a customer would receive monthly from TRAC. In the body of the email, you will find two links. One opens a PDF version of your invoice, while the other downloads a CSV file to be viewed in Excel or a similar program. First, we will look at the PDF format. On the first page of the PDF, you will find three sections. The first section contains summary-level invoice data such as invoice number, chassis pool, invoice date, invoice amount, and more. This section also details our convenient payment options. The second section often contains an important business message from TRAC. Be aware, this message will change from time to time, so this is a good reason to view the PDF each month, even if you typically only review the CSV file. The third section contains a payment stub. Please include this when mailing in a payment. The remaining pages of the PDF give an overview of the invoiced usage activity. Please keep in mind, all of this data is more accessible through the CSV file, and this is only a summary view. Let's go back to the email and open the CSV file. The CSV file will need to be viewed with Excel or a similar program. Typically, your computer will open the appropriate program automatically. The CSV file contains all of the information available for each billable activity. However, you will most likely not need all of the information presented. Columns that you don't want to use can simply be hidden or overlooked. Let's take a detailed look at this particular example. All activity is listed in date order. This is important because it helps you visualize the relationship between usage activity and billable events. Columns A and B indicate the invoice number and the account number. These will be the same for the entire invoice. Columns C through H indicate the on-hire location and specific details regarding the chassis that was used. Columns I through L are important and from our experience can often cause confusion. You'll see in columns I and J, we've indicated the on-hire date and off-hire date. This is the period of time that the chassis was actually in use, while columns K and L indicate the date range billed on this particular invoice for that period of usage. Here is why this can be confusing. TRAC invoices are issued monthly and represent billing only through the last day of the calendar month being invoiced. Therefore, if you rent a chassis in one month and return it in the following month, such as picking up a chassis in late October and returning it in early November, your October invoice will only contain billing through October 31st, while any November usage will be represented on your November invoice. In such a scenario, the off-hire date may not be indicated on the October invoice. Let's take a look at a few examples. I have highlighted row 8. Here you can see that the chassis was outgated on October 15th. The off-hire date is blank. This is because the chassis was not returned in the month of October, nor prior to the invoice being generated. Columns K and L show that the motor carrier is being billed from October 15th through October 31st. It is important to note that this line item will reappear on the November invoice with the same October on-hire date. If the chassis is returned in November, the off-hire date will also be displayed on that invoice. However, the billed period will be for the month of November only. Row 13 highlights a similar example. However, in this case, the chassis was returned prior to the October invoice being generated. Thus, TRAC has the in-gate data, and we are able to display it on the invoice. However, the billed period is still limited to the month of October. Any November usage will be billed on the November invoice. Let's continue by looking at the rest of the columns. Column M indicates the motor carrier name and SCAC code reported to TRAC for each activity. Columns N and O indicate any container information that was captured. Columns P through U reflect the billing rate, number of days billed, and any applicable taxes. Column T is particularly important as it reflects your tax-exempt status for a given area. This will be marked with a Y for tax-exempt and with an N for non-exempt. Tax exemptions are based upon information provided by each motor carrier. If you feel there is an error, please contact us with proper documentation. The next key data element is column Y. This column indicates the total amount you are being billed for each activity. You may find line items with a $0 amount. This can occur for a number of reasons, but the two most common are multi-move credit and unique billing arrangements with the ocean carriers. Let's take a look at a multi-move credit. On rows 16 and 17, the motor carrier used the same chassis twice in a given day. Note on line 17 the billing rate is 0. Due to our agreement with motor carriers, this scenario results in only 1 day of billing, because the motor carrier was already charged for that day on line 16. However, both activities are reflected for the sake of visibility. This can assist in the invoice reconciliation process. Now let's take a quick step back to columns V and W. These columns contain the booking number or bill of lading number captured for each activity. In many cases, this information is cross-referenced with data provided by the ocean carrier. This is to assist TRAC in determining the billable party. The associated ocean carrier can be found in column AB. Column AF, haulage flag, is one of the data elements provided by cross-referencing gate activity data with ocean carrier contract terms. Each ocean carrier has their own billing logic and contract design with TRAC. As a result, this column cannot always be populated and will sometimes be blank. Columns AG through AJ speak to the region and area of the associated activity, and the remaining columns provide information on the state of equipment at the time of usage, as well as the TRAC chassis pool associated with the activity. This concludes a basic overview of the monthly invoice you will receive from TRAC.
We look forward to your questions and comments. Please let us know what you think by sending an email to feedback@tracintermodal.com. To watch other videos from TRAC Intermodal, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. This will allow you to receive updates as we publish additional content aimed to make it easier for you to do business with TRAC. TRAC Intermodal and your business, moving forward together.